Hello, it is I, Magi. I am going to read to you my edit of The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Please sit back, relax. Get yourself a blanket, a cup of hot milk, some tea, some cookies, and just relax. The candy that stole Christmas. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but Candy, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. Candy hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one knows quite the reason. It could be her head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that her shoes were too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that her heart was 2 sizes too small. Whatever the reason, her heart or her shoes, she stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, starting from her cave with a sour citrus frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For she knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, she snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then she growled with her sticky fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, she knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys. And then, oh the noise! Oh the noise, 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 noise! And that's the one thing she hated. The noise, 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 noise! Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to a feast. And they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast! They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something Candy couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something she liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together, with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. They'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more Candy thought of this Who Christmasing, the more Candy thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Then she got an idea. An awful idea. Candy got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. Candy laughed in her throat, and she made a quick candy cloth hat and a coat. And she chuckled and clucked. What a great candy trick! With this coat and this hat, I'll look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. Candy looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. That stopped that old magical girl. No, she said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So she called her dog Nate. Then she took some red thread, and she tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then she loaded some bags and some snacks in a crate on a ramshackle sleigh, and she hitched up old Nate. Then Candy said, get up, and the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Whos lay snooze in their town. All their windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the Whos were all dreaming, sweet dreams without care. When she came to the first little house on the square, "This is stop number 1, the old candy class hissed, and she climbed to the roof, empty bags in her fist. Then she slid down the chimney, a quite narrow span. But if Santa could do it, then so could our Kyan. She got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then she stuck her head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. "These stockings," she grinned, "are the first things to go." Then she slithered and slunk, with a smile most unpleasant, around the whole room, and she took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates and drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn and plums. And she stuffed them in bags, and Candy very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. Then she slunk to the icebox. She took the Who's feast. She took the Who pudding. She took the roast beast. She cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Candy even took their last can of Who hash. Then she stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned Candy, "I will stuff up the tree." And Candy grabbed the tree, and she started to shove, when she heard a small sound, like the coo of a dove. She turned around fast, and she saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. Candy had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at Candy and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" But you know that old Candy was so smart and so slick. She thought of a lie, and she thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Candy Claus lied, "there's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here." And her fib fooled the child. Then she patted her head, and she got her a drink, and she sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, she went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. And the last thing she took was the log for their fire. Then she went up the chimney herself, the old liar. On their wall she left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that she left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then she did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 15:15 dawn, all of Who's still abed. All of Who's still snooze when she packed up her sled. Packed it up with the presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, she rode with her load to the tip-top to dump it. "Pooh-pooh to the Who's," she was grinchiously humming. "They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. The mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, 'Boo-hoo!' That's a noise," grinned Candy, "that I simply must hear." So she paused, and Candy put her hand to her ear, and she did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry. Very. She stared down at Whoville. Candy popped her eyes. Then she shook. What she saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any present at all. She hadn't stopped Christmas from coming, it came. Somehow or other, it came, just the same. And Candy, with their maid feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes, or bags. And she puzzled 3 hours, till the puzzler was sore. Then Candy thought of something she hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, she thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that Candy's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute her heart didn't feel quite so tight, she whizzed with her load through the bright morning light. And she brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And she herself, Candy carved the roast beast. Have a Merry Christmas, everyone.